Something broke inside of you recently. But what if it wasn't a breakdown? What if it was the field cracking open for something sacred to enter? Have you been feeling like you're holding your breath in a reality that no longer fits? Like every routine, every plan, every identity you once wore is now hanging off you like a costume two sizes too small. It's not just discomfort. It's the final phase of a spiritual skin shedding. A timeline is dissolving, and it's happening through you. There's a reason why nothing feels solid anymore. Why you wake up in the morning with a strange tension in your chest, as if you've just missed something important, though you can't name it. It's not anxiety. It's the collapse of an energetic script you no longer consent to. You were born into a story you never wrote, and for the longest time, you edited your light to fit within the margins of that script. You got so good at performing that even your shadows started clapping. But now the performance is falling apart, and you're remembering the sound of your real voice. This isn't chaos. This is sacred reorientation, and the longer you resist it, the louder it knocks. There are certain signs that emerge in your field when you're no longer in resonance with your old timeline. They're not always dramatic. In fact, they're often quiet, subtle, and deeply internal. They show up as a haunting restlessness, as the urge to pull away from people you once centered your life around, as a sudden sensitivity to places, sounds, even foods you used to crave. And the most confusing one of all, the desire to do nothing. You start feeling like you're floating between two dimensions. One is collapsing, the other hasn't fully landed yet. And in the middle is you, stuck in the in-between, wondering if you've lost the map, or if maybe you are the map. You haven't lost your way. You've just outgrown the version of yourself that needed a clear path to feel safe. There's something ancient awakening in you right now, and it doesn't speak in logic. It doesn't follow time. It only responds to energetic consent. You can't perform your way into this next phase. You must feel your way there. So if you've been exhausted lately, exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix, if you've been craving silence, avoiding shallow conversations, and crying without knowing why, know this: you're not breaking down, you're breaking open. The field is responding, but only to your real frequency. The version of you who accepted misalignment just to survive, they're leaving now. And the version of you who knows how to live, not just perform, they're finally waking up. You're not behind. You're not confused. You're remembering. The space you're in right now may feel like limbo, but it's actually a sacred threshold. The threshold between pretending and presence, between looping and liberation, between being asleep in your own body and finally arriving. And the moment you stop trying to escape it is the moment it begins to speak to you. The world won't validate what your soul knows, but the field will. Let's be clear. You were never meant to feel at home in a reality built on suppression. You were not designed to thrive in a grid of deadlines, distractions, and disembodied goals. Your nervous system is intelligent. It's not malfunctioning, it's communicating. That fatigue, that ache in your chest when you walk into certain places or hear certain voices, it's your frequency rejecting what you've outgrown. There's something the modern world won't tell you. It won't admit that much of what we call stability is actually stagnation. That the praise you once chased, the job titles, the roles, the relationship labels, were never truly aligned with your essence. They were survival tools, masks stitched from ancestral wounds and social programming. And when you begin to awaken, those masks start to itch, not because you're failing, but because your soul is rising. This shift doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers, in the pauses between conversations, in the subtle moments when you notice that your laughter doesn't reach your eyes anymore, in the growing discomfort when you try to force enthusiasm for things that no longer light you up. And here's where it gets confusing. Everyone around you might still be clapping. They might say, "You're doing great," but inside, you feel like you're disappearing. That dissonance, it's not madness. It's the multidimensional you rejecting the one-dimensional life. And when this happens, two things can emerge. Either you numb the symptoms with distractions and stay asleep a little longer, or you surrender. Surrender isn't weakness. It's a sacred rebellion. It's when you stop trying to fix what's crumbling and start listening to what's emerging. It's when you say, "I don't know who I am anymore, but I'm willing to find out." And that's when the energy shifts. Synchronicities start to multiply. Old timelines collapse without warning. People leave, not always dramatically, but with a quiet finality that leaves no room for return. And most of all, a strange kind of spaciousness enters your field. You stop being obsessed with answers. You become curious about the questions. Why do I always need to be productive? What part of me thinks being still is unsafe? Whose version of success have I been performing for? And as these questions echo through your field, something sacred begins to rise. Not a new personality, not a better version of your ego, but a deeper truth, a version of you who is remembering, not remembering facts or timelines, but frequencies. You begin to recognize your own energy again. You begin to speak from the body, not the script. You begin to feel the field, not as a concept, but as an active presence moving through your breath, your choices, your dreams. And for the first time, you're no longer afraid of losing what isn't you. You're ready to release the performance. You're ready to reclaim the presence. And that changes everything. Your breakdown wasn't chaos. It was sacred interruption. There's a point in the shift where nothing makes logical sense. And that's exactly where the deeper intelligence begins to activate. Because what you're dismantling isn't just a lifestyle. It's an identity grid. It's the energetic blueprint you unconsciously agreed to in order to survive in a system that was never built for your expansion. And now, that grid is breaking apart. Not because something went wrong, but because your frequency finally said enough. Enough pretending. Enough shrinking. Enough bypassing your body's wisdom just to meet external timelines. See, your energy field remembers what your mind tries to forget. It remembers the day you first silenced your intuition because it didn't sound reasonable. It remembers the moment you said yes to something when your whole body was screaming no. And it remembers the exact breath when your soul whispered, "We cannot keep doing this." You didn't collapse, you released. And now you're in the void, that strange space where nothing is certain and yet everything is sacred. It's the space between the inhale and the exhale, the moment between who you were and who you're becoming. And while the world might call this lost, the ancient ones would call this awakening. Because it's in the void that the false self dissolves. It's in the silence that the real voice returns. But don't expect applause here. Don't expect validation from those still wired into the old frequency. What you're doing now is invisible. But it's the most real thing you've ever done. You're rewiring timelines, you're releasing karmic loops, you're unplugging from systems of suppression, not just in society, but in your cells. You're no longer operating from the trauma response of, "I have to earn my worth." You're learning to exist from the knowing, "I am." And this is where the magic begins. Not the kind that's flashy or loud, but the kind that recalibrates your entire field. The kind that moves you from chasing to magnetizing, from reacting to creating, from surviving to transmitting. Your energy starts to change rooms before you speak. Your silence becomes louder than others' noise. And your presence, steady, unshakable, begins to call back the parts of you that were scattered. This isn't a glow up. It's a return to the original signal beneath all the static, a return to the unedited, unfiltered frequency of you. And yes, it's tender. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also the most powerful thing you've ever done. Because while the world taught you to perform, your soul came here to remember. Your healing was never meant to look graceful. It was meant to set you free. By now, you've probably realized this process doesn't come with a map. There is no step-by-step guide, no guarantee, no comforting voice saying, "You're almost there." Because the truth is, you're not going back. And you were never meant to. Everything that once held you has cracked open, the labels, the roles, the plans you made from survival rather than soul. And as they fall, what's left is the most important thing, your essence. Raw, untamed, real. It's in this state that the nervous system rewrites itself. It no longer operates in high alert, high output, high performance mode. It begins to learn something sacred, rest, not laziness, not avoidance, but deep cellular exhale. Because the weight you carried wasn't just emotional, it was ancestral, it was generational, it was energetic. And the reason you're tired isn't because you're weak, it's because you're the first in your lineage to stop, to feel, to grieve, to release, to not pass it on. So if your body shakes, If your thoughts scramble, if your emotions spill over like a river breaking its dam, that is not dysfunction. That is clearing. You're making room. Room for a frequency that doesn't just heal, it replaces. Replaces obligation with devotion. Replaces pleasing with truth. Replaces control with surrender. You're no longer subscribing to the trauma subscription. You're unsubscribing, not with rage, but with neutrality. Not with explanation, but with embodiment. People may not understand. They may try to drag you back into the old dance. But your feet won't move that way anymore. Because your rhythm has changed. Because your frequency is no longer compatible with environments that require you to betray yourself. You are now a mirror, not for how others want to see themselves, but for how they've refused to see the truth. And that might make them uncomfortable. It might make you uncomfortable. But you didn't come here to be palatable. You came here to be real, to anchor a new template, one that starts with your own nervous system, your own heart, your own field. And here's the thing. You don't have to fix, prove, or force anything. You only have to allow. Allow the unraveling. Allow the remembering. Allow the radiant frequency of your truth to recalibrate everything it touches. This is how timelines shift. Not with effort, but with presence. If you could see your energy field right now, you'd cry. Not from pain, but from finally recognizing your own light. You were never just healing yourself. You were recalibrating your entire field. And that field is not a metaphor. It's an intelligent quantum structure that communicates with everything around you. Every time you chose presence over panic, stillness over survival, truth over performance, that field responded. It grew clearer, stronger, more precise, and now you've crossed a threshold. You're no longer just reacting to life. You're influencing it through your frequency, through your state of being. The universe isn't asking you to hustle, chase, or scramble. It's asking you to become a transmission, not of perfection, but of coherence. Because when you are internally coherent, when your mind, body, heart, and field are aligned, reality begins to mirror that coherence back to you. This is why things are falling away. Not to hurt you, but because they can no longer exist in the electromagnetic truth you now carry. Jobs, relationships, thoughts, patterns, all crumbling because the contract has expired. The soul said, "We're done pretending." You no longer need external confirmation. You've become the confirmation. You're not seeking resonance, you're generating it. Even your silence is sacred now. Even your rest is generative. Even your no creates waves across timelines. You are not here to convince anyone. You're here to remember. And as you remember, you become a tuning fork for others to remember too. Not by preaching, but by simply being. Because coherence is contagious. Your presence changes rooms now. Your aura reprograms spaces. Your vibration activates dormant light codes in those around you, even if they don't consciously know why they feel different in your presence. This is not arrogance. It's responsibility. To embody this frequency is not just a personal victory. It's a collective offering. You are not just healing the past. You are designing the future in real time, not through action, but through alignment. Your transformation isn't just personal, it's planetary. If you felt like your life is dissolving lately, if the old roles don't fit, if your body feels foreign, if your dreams are louder and your thoughts are quieter, know this: you are not breaking. You are becoming. Not someone else, but the version of you that has always been hidden beneath the programming. This collapse you're experiencing, it's not the end. It's the activation of your inner architect, of your divine memory, of the blueprint your soul came here to unfold, piece by piece, in perfect time. And right now, in this moment, the invitation is clear. No more waiting, no more shrinking, no more pretending you don't know what you know. The frequency has already changed. You feel it in your chest. You hear it in your inner ear. You see it between thoughts. And the world? It's catching up to your vibration, not the other way around. The final illusion you must dismantle isn't fear. It's the belief that you still need permission. You don't. Not from them, not from time, not even from your past self. Everything you need, the clarity, the courage, the current, is already inside your field. Your mission now is to listen, to follow the whispers that speak between distractions, to trust the energy more than the outcome, to walk through uncertainty with your spine straight and your heart open. Because you weren't built to survive. You were designed to signal, to send frequencies through your being that shift the grid of this reality. You are the code. You are the update. You are the pulse that reminds others who they are, not by speaking louder, but by radiating truer. So take the leap, say the words, rest when called, move when moved, and know that every step you take in alignment rewrites timelines not just for you, but for all those who will feel your echo. Because in this collapsing world, you are not the wreckage. You are the frequency anchor, and your time is no longer coming. It's now.